to Beyond the Ring, a podcast that covers all things in the stock show industry from the informative to the insane. Starring Ryan Rash.
It doesn't matter how you feel, it only matters how you look.
And Dale Hummel.
Nothing is free. Someone is paying the bill.
Now on with the show.
Welcome to Beyond the Ring. This is Dale Hummel, along with co-star Ryan Rash.
Hello, hello, hello.
Hey Ryan, it's good to hear your voice again this week.
You've already heard my voice already this week, so we're pulling double duty here.
We are. Before we get started, I want to let everyone know, hopefully most people are aware of this by the time this drops, that Ryan and I recently recorded an episode of Beyond the Circus.
Yeah, so everybody hush. We did Beyond the Circus. It's not dead. We did one. Send Dale hate mail. Thank you. Next.
Yes, and this one was all me in terms of wanting to do an episode on the southern border crisis. Ryan was happy to jump in and come along with this, but not maybe our usual Beyond the Circus strictly political, but we actually brought a border agent in to discuss the actual truth of what's going on at the border, and I found it very educational, very enlightening. Things that you thought were going on, but you're not real sure if it's rumors or if it's real. Well, Chris came on with us and gave us the hard truth, took any question that Ryan and I wanted to have answered. And
Dale,
if you get a chance, go to Beyond the Circus. You can download it the same place as Beyond the Ring. But I
will not
thought
see
it
on
great.
our Facebook page, and Dale's very mad because Facebook hates him and won't let it go out there. But it's on my personal page if you want.
Yes, we did post it on Beyond the Ring, but it's very, very restricted on how many people are going to be allowed to see it. The big red rejected came up about as fast as I posted it. So that concerns me, but that's never ending, I believe.
Facebook hates Dale.
This week's current events. Where would you like to start?
I'm glad that we saved most of these for this because, okay, so your retraction section that you think you have. I have two things for that. First off, since our lovely president's press secretary is the dumbest bitch alive, and
she'll circle back to that.
That needs to be the circle back section instead of the retraction section. It needs to be the circle back section.
It's now the circle back.
Yeah, I need you to circle back to the fact that I told you and our listeners probably a month ago that Caitlyn Jenner was going to announce her candidacy for governor as a Republican, and you told me no. And
I don't remember what I told you, but it's possible.
See, every time I'm right, I don't remember. I
do not. You had to explain to me who Caitlyn Jenner was. So I was, if you would have went Bruce Jenner, now Caitlyn Jenner.
The fact that you know that I explained it to you does mean you remember. You just don't want to admit I was right.
You were correct. And I from what I remember of Bruce Jenner being, I thought, a little bit on the conservative side, I'm good with this.
He is extremely conservative. I have researched. When I first heard about this, I mean, I knew it was probably true, but everybody told me I was crazy. So I just I'm crazy, but this is what I think. So then when she announced, I put on Facebook, I wanted to research it, but no matter whether she was Bruce or Caitlyn, she has been extremely conservative. I did not know she was a Trump supporter, but she was.
Interesting.
I had no idea.
So do you think that puts her in a better position to possibly win the governorship or not?
I don't know because the California political climate is just such a whack job. People out there and this is not, none of the people listening to this are going to take offense at this because those are good people, and not saying that the liberals aren't good people. They're just, ideas suck, but there's so much going on out there, and they may buy into it. I mean, I think from what I have researched on her, I think she would be a 360-degree turn from Gavin Newsom. And that would have to be in the positive direction. I think California would be the only place she stood a chance because in a true Republican state, I don't know if diehard Republicans would buy into a trans person. I mean, most people don't buy into the fact that I'm gay and Republican, and I'm not trans. So I don't know. I think it'll be interesting. I think her celebrity's going to help. The gay and the trans community hate her. So she's not going to win anybody over there.
And I don't think that any conservative, if she's going as a Republican, as you stated, they aren't going to vote for her anyway. That vote wasn't going to make it anyway.
You don't think Republicans will vote for her?
No, I don't think that the gay in San Francisco and other areas.
I mean, she's not going to pick anybody up because, like, why the trans community and the gay community don't like her is because she is very conservative. And so, I mean, like, but yeah, she's not going to get any crossover votes there. But I don't know. It'll be very interesting. I find it also interesting that the Kardashians, who pretty much, I mean, they haven't ever said their political affiliation, but Kim, is getting divorced from Kanye. She was a Trump supporter. Kris Jenner has not been a Trump supporter, but she has supported Republicans. All of the Kardashians have announced that they will not be campaigning for her. I thought that was interesting.
I have to plead ignorance. I'm not sure on how the recall works. So are we obviously the recall is going forward.
The recall, they got enough votes. So now what happens is you have to wait 30 days. And these 1.6 million people that signed up, they have a chance to recall their recall. Like to say, okay, I signed that, but I disagree now. And they have to get a certain number of those people to say they don't want their name on the recall deal for it to not go through. Otherwise, it goes through. But who runs against him?
Yes, that's what I'm asking.
I have not found out yet.
Yeah, I don't. And when does it happen?
If they don't get enough people recalling their signature that signed for the recall, I know,
which I think that's very, very unlikely. It's
very unlikely. They said it's never happened. Then when they reach that 30-day threshold, then they will schedule the recall election. But again, who runs against it?
Yeah, we need to. I can.
How do they decide that? Or is it just like a open field and anybody can? I don't know.
I mean, you couldn't have 10 people on the ballot. That just doesn't work. So there has to be some process to narrow. I would
that's
assume.
Something, sir, you need to research for next week.
I am on it, but you know what? I bet many of our listeners fully understand it. So they're going to message us and explain it, and I won't even have to do the research.
I will watch this race with great scrutiny because, again, when she gets out there and starts making speeches and rallies or whatever they're going to do, I just want to see not so much what her rhetoric is or what her policies are or stuff like that. I want to see how she's received because there are some hardcore Republican people in California. Like, I mean, there are. I want to see how that voting base receives her because, I mean, if I'm going to run for anything, this would be a good, judge of what the hell might happen.
And I am strongly pushing for you to run, by the way.
Yeah, I know. My mother's going to have to, be convinced. But anyway.
I would like to discuss COVID since nobody else is.
Oh, well, I was fixing to say, Dale, aren't you excited the CDC told you that you don't have to wear a mask outside or in your home since you have a vaccination?
I truly believe that we have people in Washington, including our frail, weak leader. By the way, when he walked out to give the announcement that the CDC came out and said, you do not have to wear a mask outside if combined with social distancing. I don't think
he's vaccinated.
Crazy.
And vaccinated.
Vaccinated. I apologize. I don't think these crazy bastards realize the rest of the country, in part, has already gone on with their life. Do they not know? Or what am I missing?
When I was reading that when we were finishing up the recording yesterday, I know y'all thought I was crazy. I said, so all this basically says is if you're vaccinated, you don't have to wear a mask in your home, outside. Yeah, that's it. And nobody's doing that. I don't know how many states I've been to. I quit counting at 25 since Rona happened. One time, one state did I have to wear a mask just outside, and that was Michigan.
You know what? Michigan's a good example on what I've been talking about, or we've been talking about for a long time in this herd immunity. The states that were locked down tighter, and we've talked about this, have done nothing but prolong the spike in the COVID. In Michigan, a couple weeks ago, 2, 3, 4 weeks ago, was getting a little higher than ideal. But this past week, they've dropped by 30%. So even the tightest lockdown states, we're starting to approach, and we're seeing the benefits of that herd immunity. That drop in 30% is pretty big. And I hope that they can look at in hindsight and realize we can't stop or control how contagious this virus is. And we're all going to be either locked down until the vaccine came out. So almost locked down for a complete year, much tighter than what we were to prevent it from spreading. Or we go about our natural life, don't allow the hospitals to become overwhelmed, and let that herd immunity build, bring the vaccinations in to contribute to that. And I'm not telling everybody to go get vaccinated. I'm just saying there is no question that our natural antibodies, by being exposed to actual COVID, combined with the vaccinations that are going on, that is why everything is getting better in the United States via herd immunity. I do have a concern, though, Ryan.
Aliens are not going to be immune when they come down here.
I cannot comment on that. I don't think it'd be COVID. It might be something else that would be a problem. No, and I didn't think about it, but now I will.
Oh, but that wasn't your concern. Sorry.
So Ryan and I are very clear where we're at on COVID, and there's no question that we cannot continue to be locked down, to be restricted. We can't live this way. Our economy can't handle it. Nothing can work as locked down as, say, we were 6 months ago. That can't continue. It's not a possibility. I think we're doing very well in the United States at this point, and I'm not trying to be heartless because I know that COVID has hit some families very hard, and it will be something they're going to feel that pain from a loss of a loved one for a very long time. And I feel very badly for that, but I don't think it's possible to avoid being exposed to COVID. It is possible to be asymptomatic or actually be full-blown symptoms of COVID, build natural immunity to it via antibodies. It is possible to receive one of the vaccinations and become more resistant to actual COVID. But without that happening, it's not realistic, as contagious as it is, and the variants that are out there that are extremely contagious. We're going to continue to be exposed to COVID if we're vaccinated and or have natural immunity, or for some reason, our body's immune system, even without having been exposed to COVID, has the ability to fight it off. It's going to be fine, but it's going to still continue to hit a very small portion of the population. And that's the reality of it. And I don't think that there's any other direction. I'm not trying to be negative. I'm just trying to state the facts. It's going to be here for a while. I think it's going to be far less, and it's going to affect far fewer people as a percentage of the population, but we cannot completely stop this virus from spreading without increasing herd immunity to a point that's maybe higher than what's possible, because we aren't all going to get vaccinated. I chose to get vaccinated. Ryan's half vaccinated, we'll say. Not by choice.
I am half vaccinated, damn it.
Yes. So, I think it should be your choice whether you want to get vaccinated or not. If you do not get vaccinated, I think we're at a point, just speaking biologically in this country, that you're going to probably be exposed to COVID at some point if you live the resemblance of a normal life and the country is not locked down.
I travel a lot. I talk to people, random people, show people, all kinds of people. And I truly think the people that have wanted to be vaccinated have been.
And that's not as many as what Mr. Biden would like.
No, which I think is funny, because when he was running for president, he didn't think the vaccinations were good.
He did not want to get the Trump vaccine.
Right, but now everybody should go get it. But
I don't hear him associating Trump's name with the vaccine anymore.
No, but I know lots of people that just don't want to. We talked about this a little bit on the Beyond Circus, I find it interesting that the younger generation, that I'm talking like 18 to 30, they're more against it than almost anyone else that I talk to. And normally, when you have sweeping change in different areas of life, it is older generations that are more stubborn and not willing to do the change, and the younger generations are. And I think this is just complete opposite.
It is. It's very odd. Very, very odd. Are you familiar with what's going on in India with COVID?
No.
It's bad. Reality, it's a true crisis. They went from, I couldn't tell you, back in January, they had a level of 11,000 people per day coming COVID positive. By mid-April, they spiked to 360,000 cases each day. Back in January, the Prime Minister declared that they defeated COVID back in January. And this is a country of 1.3 billion people. It's 18% of the population of the planet lives in India. So they
Okay,
declared
but
victory in
hold on.
January.
That's a lot of people. But
Oh.
360,000 a day?
A day. That's a running 7-day
Woof.
average. So it went from almost nothing in January to mid-April, 360,000 cases. They have no supplies in the hospital. They have no oxygen. Oxygen's basically on the black market. You're paying more for oxygen than you would gold. Patients denied entering the hospital. If they get a hospital bed, it doesn't necessarily mean anything because the hospital supplies are completely depleted. There's cremation fires going along in the streets.
Oh, my.
There's so many people that have lost their lives. So it went from, wow, this looks pretty good. And I've not been to India specifically, but that part of the world,
Me neither.
I see the virus spreading very easily because it'd be difficult because of the population, to get away from people. I think we talked about this earlier. There may be some form of genetic tie that some certain genetics or blood types are more susceptible. So in my opinion, this is just a theory, and I could be totally wrong. When we have this happening here, when the first wave went through India, I'm going to assume a large number of the population were exposed to whatever variant that first wave was. And they're talking about a second variant that's hit really, really hard. So in my opinion, those that were exposed to the first COVID wave probably developed some natural immunity, but for some reason, that natural immunity or those antibodies produced by each person is not covering them in this other variant, where in some cases on some of our vaccines, the way they're manufactured, they actually may be more broad spectrum than the body's own antibody defense for a specific variant. That sounds a little deep or complicated, but what I'm getting at, I don't think there's a lot of vaccines. Their vaccination rate in India was small. They relied on natural exposure through the first wave and herd immunity building that way. I think they accomplished that until a different variant came. That concerns me. I don't want to change what we're doing. I think we're on a good path here. I even want to open it up much more than we are in the United States. But I feel strongly that we need to go on with life, pay attention to what's going on in other parts of the world, and prepare accordingly. There's thousands, I'm not going to say millions, thousands of lives that could be saved in India if they simply had availability of oxygen. They've had over a year to build supplies and prepare for this, but they assumed they were through it. And this new variant hit them pretty hard. I'm not saying that we need to be living on edge thinking we're going to get a variant that comes through that does this to us, because I think we're better prepared. We understand it. We're making personal choices accordingly, and I would like to continue that. So with all of that said, I hope that those in India, I hope they come through it. I know we're sending supplies and Europe's sending supplies, but they can't get them fast enough. It's a true problem right there now. And it gave me a little bit of a wake-up call that we do need to pay attention to what's going on in other parts of the world, not necessarily be scared to death right here in the U.S.
And be concerned for the aliens.
And the aliens, because they're our only chance against the Chinese.
Right.
Only chance we have. Did you remember yesterday? The other thing is, I'm going to circle back. We're not retracting, circle backing within the episode. Biden is perfectly okay with people coming across the border illegally with no quarantine, no COVID test. But anybody else in the country, that doesn't work.
And we've talked about COVID too long. But one thing that I do want to bring up, because like you brought up that, like, we're not trying to, anybody that's been affected by this tragically or dramatically, we don't want to like say that it's not important, not a real thing, and all this other stuff. I still want to bring up one thing that I don't think gets brought up enough. And if I get hate mail for this, it's fine. Your lovely CDC, who told us yesterday you don't have to wear a mask outside or inside your house if you're vaccinated. If you're vaccinated. They still released the statistic that only 6% of the deaths from COVID were strictly from COVID, meaning that there were no other pre-existing conditions that affected this tragic deal. So only 6%.
That is a shocking number.
6% died specifically from COVID. The other ones, and one death is too many, but the other ones, there was a pre-existing condition with the COVID that caused those people to perish. So I just want to, I just want to bring that up. But I also have to bring up one other thing, and then we'll move on. But our president is going to have his first joint address tonight. It's not a State of the Union.
I'm still hoping that it doesn't happen, right?
It's not
I'm
State
still
of the
banking
Union.
on something.
Not State of the Union. It's joint address to Congress and the Senate. Do you know what's interesting about this, though?
Well, you just need to call it what it really is.
Well, go right ahead. Do you have a name for it?
I think it's nothing more than a speech to tax and spend to levels we've never seen. I don't know that, but I'm predicting that.
I think what is interesting about this is in his first joint address, do you realize that the House is not even in session?
I was not aware.
House is not in session. Senate is in session. They are limiting it to 200 lawmakers. Normally, whether it's a joint address or a State of the Union, there's 1,600 people packed in there.
So there'll be lawmakers that are not even allowed to attend.
Oh, yeah.
In the House or the Senate.
Yeah. 200. They're going to sit in the gallery. 200 people. House isn't even in session. This is wild. And they're all saying, just like camel toe can't go to the border because of coronavirus. Now, here is my issue. When we had to impeach Trump for the second time, we didn't care how many were in the House or in the Senate on top of each other, not social distancing, all this other stuff, because we had to impeach Trump. Now Biden's going to give his first joint address. Oh no, coronavirus is very dangerous, very deadly. Only 200 people can come. You know what I think about all that?
I do.
Bullshit!
I'm with you. You want to know what I think is deeper bullshit than that? Is that for some reason, I don't understand that someone like Biden, I guess he's lived in the swamp for more than 50 years, no concept of how higher taxes will have an impact on the small business and all those that work for him. The only ones that are kind of untouchable by these crazy increase in taxes are the politicians that have their expense account, they have their security, they have a stable income that's not going to change no matter what the tax rate is. It's absolutely insane to me that we have people making decisions for our country that have no real world experience in that area, especially when they've been a politician in DC for 50 plus years. So to me, this is serious. I hope everyone speaks up and voices their opinion on policy. At this point, how can Biden not look back through history of our entire planet or our civilization? When taxes get to a certain rate, the government actually collects less. It's real simple. If he wants more money to come in the government, this is not how you do it. You do it by keeping some of the policies that Trump had in place, because it seems like he hit that sweet spot that we're actually generating more dollars because of lower taxes, because there's more incentive for small businesses to go out there and succeed. If I'm a small business, which I am, is there any reason for me to go out and try to make as much money as I can that an accumulated tax rate of 40% on capital gains plus all the other taxes you get hit with? Why do it? So you're either going to spend more money to find that accountant or that attorney to get you out of the taxes, or you're going to find a way to avoid them, period. And that's what's going to happen when it gets to that level. It's just crazy. I have no understanding of how they can't comprehend at a certain level your revenue that you generate going into the government is going to decrease because of this increased taxes. That's what concerns me.
Well, I don't know what he's going to say, but only 200 people are going to be in there to hear him in live.
There's rumors that there's $6 trillion worth of spending in the first 100 days. That's impossible. I can't even wrap my head around $6 trillion worth of spending. I have no idea.
Go circle back to the episode yesterday and the numbers that I told you about what they're just doing on the border crisis. Think about that. So I can believe it.
That's just stupid. We could have, yeah.
I can believe it.
Crazy. Did you hear anything about John Kerry before we move on?
Oh no. Well, I mean, I know he's in trouble, but I haven't heard anything else. And of course, he didn't do it. No,
that's what I heard. Maybe he didn't, but he's right there with of my favorites, right? With Maxine, Nancy, Chuck, the squad. I put him right in the mix.
But John says he did not tell the Iranian prime minister anything. He didn't. Why the prime minister would accuse him of this and have facts and no details about operations that he shouldn't know. If John Kerry didn't tell him, then I'm not sure, but John didn't do it.
Nope, he didn't do it. Well, Ryan, we probably ran a little long, but that's not unusual.
Again, they can just blow right on past it if they don't like it. I don't care.
They can hit that fast forward button. Ryan came up with a topic this week that hopefully is entertaining, hopefully enlightening, and maybe a little different than what current events is. But today's main topic is show ring superstitions. Do you have them?
So let me preface this or whatever. I am not a superstitious person, but I know so many people that are, and I thought that this would be, an interesting one. And we probably, we're doing it anyway, but we probably should have sent out a Facebook, whatever. What are your show ring superstitions?
Remember, we can circle back next week.
Right, yeah. But so if y'all, after you hear this and y'all do have a crazy one, then send it to us somehow and we'll bring it up next week in current events. But I know people that are mildly superstitious, and then I know people that are insanely superstitious.
I do as well.
I'm not talking about black cat crossed the road. No, we're not going to drive past that. I'm talking about stuff that I'm where did you get this? Where does this come from? But anyhow, so I know a lot of our stuff is serious and a lot of it's not. And so Dale's like, we need something funny. So I was like, well, okay.
Maybe positive, enjoyable.
I don't know if this is positive because I think the people that think like this, I'm look at them.
Now be nice. Be nice. But this is difficult for me, Ryan, because I've never bought into superstitions. I have a very black and white brain that if I'm not presented with a science or logical explanation, I just dismiss it until I get more data, and that's how it is. So I'm aware of superstitions, but I don't understand it. But I do think there is a positive that comes from some of those, and I both of my daughters have a slight superstition, I would say, or I don't know if you'd even throw it in the superstition category, but I can use those as an example. And I think Ryan had mentioned this to me last year when we were at Denver in September. We had this turquoise looking halter that fits actually some of the goats really well. My youngest daughter, Katie, terrible color.
Terrible.
This doesn't work at all for Ryan. But no. in Katie's mind, this is a lucky halter. And I don't care. I don't believe it to be a lucky halter, but it actually fits well and she does well with it. So the fact that she thinks it's lucky, it actually fits the goat well and she can get them shown well in it, gives her more confidence going in the ring. So I'm all in on superstition if it's going to give that exhibitor a little more confidence, because anytime we have more confidence, good things follow.
Then I'm going to talk to them and say, okay, so we're going to paint it brown or black, depending on which coat you're showing. And it's still the same halter because the turquoise is not working. But
that works. I'm there.
I had a family, the Herzogs, and they won a halter at the State Fair, Texas, when they had two kids. And I think it was Haley, the oldest girl, won a halter at the State Fair, Texas, and it had a little plaque across the back. It said Grand Champion. I think it was Brahman. I can't remember what they won, what it won. But we showed in that halter forever. We had to put the plaque back on the halter 500 times. I don't know what was holding it on at the end. But yeah, so I'm with you on the halter of it all. I did have a family that had that same thing. And I've had kids that when I'm talking about the show stick, they had this show stick from the first time they went into the arena till the last time they did. The show stick flew to shows.
And that would be a challenge in itself. Just oversized.
Right. It had, the end had been welded back onto it 900 times. One time at a show, the tip fell off, so we wired it in there. I'm not joking. Of course, me, I'm okay. So, because I don't buy into it, but yeah, so there is definitely people out there that have halter superstition. I'm assuming that goes for combs and, the whole 9 yards. If I would have had this, whether I was a small child high school showmen or even now, I would have never won anything in my life because I probably go through a show stick a show. Like, I mean,
didn't concern you at all.
No, I was more concerned because, like, back, well, and I still only believe that you should only show in a black or silver show stick, but they also had them in this kind of bright blue there for a while. I was more concerned about matching the show stick to my shirt than anything else. Like, just silver go best, does black go best, or does blue go best with this shirt? That was what I was concerned about, not superstitions, but. So
I get it. I can see that very clearly.
Yeah. So there is that part of it. But like, and I think this is an old cowboy one. And I did not know that this is just not for cowboy hats, but you can't lay your hat on the bed.
I saw that in one of the TV episodes, Yellowstone.
Now I know that's like comes back from, because my father was a professional cowboy, and I know that comes back from that, but like I didn't know that went for ball caps and all this other stuff. But evidently there are people that think that's true, and so I don't know how that gives you bad luck or what the reason is about that, but evidently laying hats on the bed.
It'd be interesting to know how some of these actually got started.
Yeah, I mean, and like, what is I mean, like, okay, so you're talking about your daughter with the halter, her dogs, but
yep,
they like that halter, whatever. But like, what does your hat laying on a bed have to do with the show animal?
I don't know. Now, I could get confused for being superstitious because there's certain things. I'm very, very anal when we're trying to get animals ready to succeed at a very high level, that everything has to be done a certain way, but it has nothing whatsoever to do with superstition. If we get to the show, we're going to get feed and water in them, and then we're going to get everybody away from them so those animals can rest and relax. And there is nothing about superstition with that. But I have been accused of that. Are you superstitious if we come up to the pin or we don't do that? No, it's just my analness that it needs to be done A, B, C, D, and it is what it is.
Yeah, but that's not superstition. That's just like, there's a natural way that things need to happen at a show. Like, this needs to happen first, this needs to happen next, da 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 da. That is not superstition. That's just getting your stuff done. But did you know this one? Can't eat peanuts on show day.
I've never heard of that one. That one's can't eat peanuts. Again, how would this one begin?
I don't know. And again,
I predict it was one of your families, and somebody ate peanuts in the group, and you got beat.
No, this was a guy that worked for me as a kid, and this like, people are gonna get grossed out so he would put peanuts, like one of those little skinny plastic bags of peanuts, in his Dr. Pepper and drink his Dr. Pepper with peanuts in it. Okay, but on show day you couldn't do that because peanuts were bad luck.
Got it. So you had to skip the peanuts on show day.
And I would ask him, can you explain to me how this works? He's like, just trust me. Do you want to win today? I was like, whether I win or not has nothing to do with your disgusting habit of putting peanuts in your Coke or Dr. Pepper, okay? Like, this is not going to do anything. But he swore by it.
Just as crazy as that is, that person in their mind truly believes it.
Oh, there's no doubt. Like,
that's the crazy part.
Even after the show was over, until the next day, homeboy would not go back to his regular disgusting habit of putting the peanuts in the Coke and whatever. Yeah, so I don't know, because like that was one time we stopped at a convenience store on the way home back to the hotel, and he didn't. I was like, "What's wrong? Are we going to get a ticket on the way home now if you do it, or what? Like, we won the show. What's the problem?" But I don't know.
No answer for that. Now, this doesn't relate necessarily directly to the stock show world, but a lot of people are very convinced that we just don't talk about some things. We talk about it, it's not going to happen. For example, talk about losing leg hair on a goat or shag on a lamb, or just the hair dropping on a steer sooner. We just don't talk about it. If we don't talk about it, it's going to be just fine.
Yeah, see, I think that's kind of nonsense too.
I know a couple people that are very, very strong that way, and
I know a lot of people that are just, and again, about cattle, like, do superstitious things to like keep hair on cattle, and like, I don't get it. But so this is a perfect example of not talking about things. And when most of my kids had multiple animals at shows, and whether it was multiple in a breed or multiple in the Grand Drive, I'm the one that, has to line up people. I'm like, okay, and so we're getting down to the end, say it's the last breed. Now, if we win this breed, you can't say that. I'm like,
Yep. There
okay,
it is.
well, here's the thing. If I don't say it now and don't get somebody lined up, we're not going to have anybody to show this one because you've already got 2 other ones out there. So, yeah, we're going to have to talk about it, little weirdo.
I could just witness that conversation happening.
Oh, multiple times. Yeah. So, no, I mean, I when you were describing it, yeah, no, I get it. And I know people because, like, back before, when I was little, back before we slick sheared, Houston was even later in March than it is now. Everything's kind of back to whatever. So when you had steers that had hair for Houston, it was getting late March, and it gets warm in Texas even back then. And I knew people, and we didn't do this, but I knew people that would literally clip their whole animal for the show for Houston, but they would not shave that animal's head till they got to the show because they thought that would keep the hair from falling out the week of the show. If they didn't shave it till they absolutely had to.
It's interesting. We still hear some of that about if we clip leg hair at a certain time of year, we're going to drop the rest of it, even if we're not taking it all the way down to the skin, just fitting it. So there are, I don't know if there's anything to it or not, but there are those beliefs, whether it's superstition or if they just believe this, that it's there.
Well, I know lots of people that, like, and I don't know if this is superstitious, but like a lot of people, whether it's for state fairs or junior nationals or whatever, they like down clip or shear their animals in the spring, but they consult the Farmer's Almanac on what's the best day to do it. I don't know how they do that or whatever, but I do. I don't know if that's a superstition, but
that is, I think it is. I don't know about a superstition. They're trying to tie science to it, but that Farmer's Almanac and where the position of the moon is
that what it is? Because like I don't understand. They're like, well, we sheared her here because Farmer's Almanac. I was like, so there's a section. I've never looked at a Farmer's Almanac. I know the listening audience is going to be shocked on that, but is there a section that says this is when you should shave your cow?
Now, I don't know about that, but there's definitely, when we're castrating livestock and or weaning livestock, maybe more so in the commercial world, but even in the show stock production, there are families that absolutely believe in it. And you know what? When I visit with them, they convince me that this is working for them, and I encourage them to continue to do it because it's working for whatever reason. And maybe there is something there in terms of a gravitational pull or stress on the animal, or I don't know. But I can assure you there's more people out there than what you'd realize, Ryan, that will follow the Farmer's Almanac, and it may have to do with more of the positioning of the moon, Farmer's Almanac guiding them, but particularly on weaning animals and castration, that it's going to go much smoother if we do it on a certain date. I can't jump in there from a science standpoint and validate that, but I'll tell you what, it's been around for longer than it should have if there's not something to it. Does that make sense?
I'm just saying, I know people that do it.
And do you believe it has any relevance?
I do not, but again, if they think it works, then go for it.
I would like to say from a science standpoint,
I will get hate mail for hating on the Farmer's Almanac. I will quote it already.
I'm gonna circle back and say that if it's happened, if people have been doing it for this long, there has to be some validity to it, even if we don't understand it. And that's hard for me to say. But I think there may be something there. I don't see any downside of doing it at that time if it's convenient. How's that?
There you go. Did you know, and I'm sure everybody has some of this, but more times than not, I have been told, because I wore it a lot, that yellow, you can't wear yellow on show day because it's unlucky.
I see. That's why I never wear yellow, Ryan.
Bullshit. You only wear white or blue. It has nothing to do with that.
Occasionally gray,
but
occasionally black.
And like my mother was kind of subscribed to this theory a little bit. And I think this probably goes back to when she was married to my father. think that might have something to do with like rodeo or whatever. I don't know. And was like, I don't care. I'm wearing, and I never wore just like basically a solid color shirt, but like if there was yellow in it, it's like, are you sure you want to wear that? I'm like, yeah, I'm pretty sure. Matches my hair. I'm good. Thanks. Bye.
And she'd come up because of that superstition.
Yeah, it would be because of that. Yeah.
Well, I can bring up my older daughter Tara, and I don't know that she's superstitious, but she must be to a certain degree just by example. We're at Denver showing goats one year, and she's in the wash rack show day and gets her shoes wet, and it soaks through to her socks. So before she goes in the ring, she says, "Hey, Dad, I'm going to buy some socks." And I said, "That's fine." So she goes out of the little show area or pinning area in Denver, and just outside there, I think there's like alpaca display, and they're selling different products. So here's some alpaca socks. First one she comes to, pays way too much money for a pair of alpaca socks. But that next show season, she's wearing these same, never said anything to me. I don't know how I picked up on it, but I noticed it, wearing those same alpaca socks at all the national shows. She ends up winning the Royal, North American, and then Reserve at Denver that year with alpaca socks on. Am I going to tell her that she shouldn't wear those socks?
Probably not.
Probably. I think they're too small now. I think we're past that. But I mean,
they
there's
for a little
sometimes, yeah, it does. I guess it's not going to hurt anything, just in case.
Callie shows in socks that has her dog's picture on them every time.
Every time.
Yeah, this is a recent thing. Another superstition that Callie had for me, and only this will show you.
So she's imposing her superstition upon you.
Yes, this will show you the love that I have for Callie because I actually did this. The very first Junior National I went with her to show day. I can't believe I'm telling this, but anyway, long story short, we were joking about my underwear, and she was like, well, you wear this pair today. They're going to be lucky. And so I wore that pair of underwear, and she won. And so every year at Junior Nationals, till she aged out, I had to wear the same pair of underwear on show day. And I did that for her.
Oh, we're
not going to describe anything else about the underwear, but
no, I don't. We just don't need this. No,
no, you don't. But yeah, we did that, and I will say that they were retired after that last deal. I still have them, but yeah, they were good. And no, I did wash them and other things. It's not like that because I know people that like if they get on a roll. And this is more in like other a lot of rodeo people that like they get on a roll or something because rodeos are like every weekend like stock shows. They won't wash their socks or something else or whatever. And like I'm like, yeah, no, everything's gonna get washed in this world.
Maybe not cut your hair, maybe not shave, whatever.
Yeah, I mean all of that. I mean, I know lots of people that they don't want to cut their hair after they get on a winning streak, which that doesn't work out real good in the show ring because girls it's fine probably, but boys not so much.
Now, speaking of that and other avenues, I think baseball is highly, highly superstitious.
Oh, they're the worst.
Yeah.
They're the worst. If you watch any of the baseball movies and any of it's true, oh, they're absolutely the worst sport of it all. But I'm trying to think of other ones because I had so many.
We're going to get bombarded with messages, so we're going to be able to.
And again, we screwed up. We should have like asked people about this.
This is good. This will stimulate them more to send a few more in.
It can go back to the circle back segment.
Yes,
circle back segment.
Ryan's folder will be full of this instead of hate mail, and I think we touched on this last episode about the hate mail that I was unaware that I even have a spam folder in Facebook for those that
you have two.
Totally. And just today, before we recorded, Ryan explained to me that all the messages that I get, if I'm not a personal friend of that person, goes in the spam folder. So for all of you out there, I apologize. I have not opened that spam folder. I did not know it existed.
He's lying. He opened it, looked at how many were there, and then he said it didn't exist.
It was terrible, Ryan. I don't know. I personally feel.
And did you even get to both of them?
Or no, I just found one, and there were a lot of messages in there, and I was totally unaware that if they weren't your friend, that you wouldn't get the message.
Oh,
I
you
didn't
get
know
it.
that.
It just goes into a different folder, sir. And now that you don't believe those folders
I
exist.
can't hardly get my normal Facebook messages, let alone some spam folder message. So for all of those of you out there that I've ignored for years, I'm sorry.
Yeah. But so you were talking about Tara and socks. I mean, I think this is a pretty normal one or whatever, but like I never did this because I wore a new different shirt every time. But a lot of people have a lucky shirt and they wear it till, I don't know, I guess they get beat, or a lot of people. I know several people that the first shirt of a show season that they win with, and they wear that one for the rest of that season or whatever and stuff like that. Again, none of this I subscribe to. I think the only one that I ever gave into was the halter for the Herzog cow and the underwear at the Junior Nationals for Callie. I don't remember going.
And you did that
Oh,
to boost Callie's confidence.
and the show stick. I forgot about Kobe Long's show stick. Yeah. So
now, let's address the underwear situation. You did this,
yes,
in my opinion, strictly so Callie would have more confidence going in.
Done, and I didn't want to get beat. Yeah. I mean, like, it was a joke that morning, the first morning, but then the 5 after, yeah, like, no, it was a thing. Because she's like, oh, we're going to wear these today. These are the lucky ones. And then they were for her, so yeah. Just like, I don't think her Quinn socks make us win the Beefmaster shows, but she does, so she wears them.
Anything that it doesn't, it did it. I promise you, it didn't hurt by wearing them. So I guess I'm good with it.
No,
Now, I don't know what kind of underwear you had to wear, so that may have been painful, but I really don't know.
Again, we're not going to discuss that. We're not going to. That would be neat. Yeah, no. I'm going to save everybody on that one.
Are you now ready for your absolute favorite thing?
Oh, wait. I got one more.
Okay, go ahead.
One more, and then I'll hush. And I think this will resonate with a lot of people that are the adult people. So again, I don't know how many different people we had come through my barn as a child that helped me, but one of my favorite superstitions, and again, I was a child, so I did not partake in this, but one of the guys that was with us for quite a long time did. He absolutely would not clip a hair on a calf, whether we were at the barn or at a show, unless he had drank a Zima. And I don't even know I know Zima's some type of alcoholic beverage. I don't know exactly what kind it was. I don't even know if it still exists. And it wasn't like he would drink them all day long, but he had to have one. And so I told him one day, I said, isn't this just to like steady your hand and your nerves and not, nope, absolutely not superstitious. So I do know people that like, it doesn't even have to be alcoholic, but a lot of it is. Like, they'll only drink something night before the show or the day of the show or stuff like that. So yeah, it's everywhere.
It is, and for some of the people, it like Callie, it's a little bit of a joke maybe, but there's some that are very, very serious about it. Hard for me to understand, but it does exist.
Yeah, I don't understand it either, but there you go. So again, we're moving on to Dale's favorite thing, but if y'all have bizarre superstitions that we didn't cover in the circle back segment next week, I'll pick out like 5 to talk about if I get that many. But there you go.
You will. You're not going to get hate mail. You're going to get superstitious request.
There you go.
I like that. Okay. Question and answer brought to us by Popejoy Livestock Transportation. We had several questions come in. There's going to be some that we just don't get to, or it's going to be a little while, but we're going to try to get through as many as we possibly can. Ryan kind of limits us to 3 per episode, so we don't want to push.
I vote for 1, but
1. No, we've got to have more than 1. I'm an ag teacher. This comes from Kirk. I'm an ag teacher, and I'm gone a lot with my kids in the summertime. My question is your opinion on transitioning to feeding once a day for a couple months this summer. I try to make things as simple as possible on the people I hire to feed when I'm gone. This way we can put them in the barn and then in the AM and turn them out in the evening with less, I guess, burden on those people taking care of it. Thank you for your time. Your thoughts.
Again, I'm not sure what species he's talking about, maybe all species. I can speak for cattle quite well, and I think it would probably be different in the other ones, but when I feed an animal myself, and again, different families do it different ways. But when we feed animals here, show animals, we only feed one time a day, unless it is one that's difficult and has appetite issues or stuff like that. And with the weather and how hot it gets in the summer, spring, and fall here normally, it just works better for us because we have to get them in earlier because of hair. We kick them out at night, and they have more time to eat everything at once. And so I don't think there's a problem at all in cattle. Now, I would think in goats and sheep and pigs may be a little more problematic.
I think that one's tough, and obviously ruminants or ruminant animals are designed to consume a lot of feed at one time and be able to digest it over a longer period. So in theory, the cattle, the sheep, and the goats should be fine with that.
I still think it'd be problematic in goats and sheep.
Yeah, this stock show feeding takes it to another level. I know on the goat side of things, we're definitely having it's more of a mental game, and we have better luck feeding them 2 or 3 times a day, a smaller amount.
See, luck, superstition, here we go.
Yes, there we go. I think that we get more intake if we make them believe that they're not going to have feed in front of them all the time. And I think feeding once a day would have to put so much out there that they'd be almost like they're at a smorgasbord every day and they're not that excited about eating. Where if we can get them excited every time they hear us come in the barn that, wow, there's going to be feed there, I think we can increase that intake level if that's our goal. And a lot of times that is what we're trying to accomplish. So I think it can be done. I don't know if it's ideal, and I don't have a lot of personal experience with it.
No, and again, I don't think this would be something that I would try in goat, sheep, or hogs. I'm just telling you, we do it in cattle, and it works very successfully in where we're at right here in Crockett, Gay Hill, America. It has worked for us time and time again. Very few times have we had to feed one multiple times a day. And so, again, right here it works for us. But I think the smaller animals, like he's saying, I don't know if that would be something that I would suggest. But I can say in cattle, works for us.
Got it. Thank you, Ryan. Zach submits the next one, and this was actually more for a topic maybe than a question and answer, but we can hit the question and answer. Maybe it'll roll into a topic. I really just wanted to send a few lines to both of you gentlemen. The podcast is absolutely amazing and is so honest and helpful. For that, thank you. I would like to pose a question to you both, and maybe you could utilize it as a topic in the future. Will stock shows diminish in the future because of the price of animals, products, and such? I often wonder, we as a family show pigs, and as blue-collar worker, it's very hard to keep up and compete by just purchasing mediocre stock. It is difficult on a blue-collar family's budget to purchase animals that compete. What are your thoughts about the future stock shows in regard to pricing of animals and other products?
I'll be completely honest with you. I would have thought if that was going to happen, it would have happened a long time ago. And I get it, and I understand it. I think that, and this goes back to something, probably, I don't know if it was last week or the week before, that I associate being different in the junior livestock show world, where I think there are multiple levels and definitions of success. And I think that is why probably this isn't more of an issue than it is, because depending what your budget is, you can still be successful at a different level. It's not just like I used the example of a football team, that one football team wins and one football team loses at a game. Making the sale, getting pulled, winning your county fair, winning the state fair, winning American Royal, all those things. There's lots of different levels of success and ways and different ways to succeed in this. And so I think that's why probably this hasn't been as big a factor as it is. I completely understand that it is. I mean, no matter what it is, the people that have more money and expendable income are going to be able to do more for their kids in a lot of different ways. And that part is there, and it's always been there. I say this, and the reason that I put this out there is because I have done it when buying and brokering animals for kids. There have been animals that were way, way less expensive. And I'm talking about that I would think that almost every family that was going to put one on feed for a major show in Texas would consider in an affordable price range go on to be Grand or Reserve at a major show. And then there's been the opposite where we paid insane prices for one. And yeah, that one might have won and maybe it got real close, but didn't. And so I do think that there are affordable options that can compete at every level. They're just a lot harder to find. And I'm going to be honest about that. It's a lot harder to find those. But I think that's probably why this has not been a more dramatic effect on the junior livestock show industry. Those are my examples or reasons.
Great answer, Ryan. And in your first statement there, and I responded to this gentleman real briefly when I saw the message come in. I honestly believed this years and years ago, that when prices started going up, I thought, well, this just, how are we going to justify it? How's this going to impact the industry? If it was going to happen, it would have happened a long time ago. And I think, Ryan, your justification is exactly why it doesn't happen. But it is a concern. I feel for it. Those that have more disposable income are always going to be able to start out in theory with something better, but there's a lot that goes into it, and just stay in those trenches and define your own success and set your own goals.
Not only that, and I don't remember which topic we discussed or whatever, but like we have said on this podcast several times before, purchasing the animal that can get it done is just the very beginning. And while it's an important part of it, I think every year finding that animal that has the ability to win something is greatly important. I think every year that there are other things that become more important than that.
Excellent, Ryan. I've got one more for you. I attended and my family participated in a cattle show this past weekend. We were offended by the increased number of ear tags with a farm/breeder/broker's name in it still. And it's in, I noticed a well-known name, even in the right ear, the show side, intentionally placed there. What is your opinion on this? I realize in some areas use brands that are not removable, but that is not in practice in our area. So I think this was Ryan that submitted this. They attended a cattle show, and there's obviously some broker, breeder, something tags in the cattle's ear. I think that's. I'll let you take over on it, Ryan.
I didn't mean to laugh at this question, and I'm not laughing at the person that submitted it. I just find it funny because I'm just going to be honest with you. You're not going to get anybody to change that. And I think that a lot of it is for whoever submitted this in there, this question. Yeah, they think that they would come across a judge that would recognize that ear tag, and that might get them a little bit further in the ring or whatever else like that. I also think for as many people that do that, there are brokers, breeders, etc., that put ear tags in there because they have quality stock. And when people are walking by at a show or in a show ring and they see that animal and they want to know where did that come from, if that ear tag is there, then there you go. They know exactly where to go look, who to contact about maybe they want one next year, or can I get a flush mate to this one, or, can I come look at your stuff like that. For the people that do it for the reasons that, maybe the judge will, whatever, I'm going to go back again. The show needs to hire better judges. If they're actively looking at ear tags to help them in the placings or that sways their placings, they need to hire better judges.
That's simple, isn't it?
Yeah. And I don't think there's anything wrong with, I'm going to be honest, I don't think there's anything wrong with brokers and breeders putting their ear tags in their animals. They have every right to be proud of them, to want people to know where that came from. I know, at least in Texas, in the validation process, when you go get validated, that ear tag gets cut out. Not that saying that you can't go back and put it in when you leave validation, but when you come at a major show, there are some rules that can't be in there. And I don't know if that's in other states or not, but I do not have a problem with people putting ear tags in the animals they sell because it's a way of promotion and advertising. I understand what this person is saying. I do agree that probably sometimes, more times than what needs to happen, that can be a factor in how things happen in a show ring. And the only way to fix that is the show's got to hire better judges.
And I think if that judge can be influenced, unfortunately could be influenced by that breeder tag or whatever, guess what? That breeder probably has a close enough relationship. It isn't going to matter whether that tag's in there or not. And that's the unfortunate part.
Anybody that's going to relate to like looking at tags, then you probably don't want to know what they did via Snap or text message or call or whatever before the show either. So again, those people don't need to be judging, and the shows don't need to hire those type of people.
Excellent, Ryan. Another good week. 2 podcasts recorded this week. Thank you for the effort. I greatly appreciate it. I'm looking forward to getting submission of a lot of different superstitious events that are taking place or quirks that are out there in the world from our listeners. No hate mail for Ryan, only superstitious examples.
Yeah, we'll see how well that holds up.
And it is no longer retracting, but it is circle back, correct?
Section.
The circle back section.
Yeah, there you go.
Ryan, thank you. Until next week, be safe.
Y'all come back now, you hear?